Chrissy Lampkin did the unthinkable. She challenged Camron on live television, and it wasn't choreographed, it wasn't staged, it was real, it was heated, and it shook the internet to its core. The look on Camron's face was priceless, and the quiet, the room louder than any shout. But what made it utterly unforgettable was Jim Jones watching live and his reaction. Let's just say the rumors had been circling for weeks about a private breakup, cryptic tweets, friction between brothers, and a Chrissy apparently kept a secret from the past hidden. But it all came out today in front of millions, and what she revealed left Camron frozen. It left Jim stunned, and fans were absolutely unprepared for what occurred next. This isn't simply love and hip-hop. Drama. This is betrayal expos and raw truth colliding live on broadcast. Don't even consider about looking away, because what's about to unfold next will disrupt all we thought we knew about their past and future. It all began with a reunion nobody expected. A prominent urban radio show had hinted a legendary surprise interview all week, but no one, not even the devoted fans, guessed they'd be bringing Chrissy Lampkin and Camron into the same room. Years had passed with no public appearances, no reconciliations, only old video, old beef, and old wounds between Jim Jones. Longtime partner Chrissy and his lifelong brother-in-arms, Cam single quotes Ron Dot. Back in the early Dipset days, they were a family. Chrissy fervently loyal, Camron loud crazy and constantly playing the aggressor, and Jim caught in the middle holding it all together barely. However, things shifted when love and Chrissy became more than simply Jim's girl. She was a breakout star, a voice and a force. And as she gained authority, there was unspoken friction. Between her and Cron gradually began to simmer. Fans noticed. Cam stopped pulling up for certain events. Rumors hit the blogs. Some stated Chrissy didn't want Jim attached too tightly to Dipset longer. Others claimed Cam felt degraded and pushed out of his home. Brotherhood Jim Jones always kept impartial, at least in public. He never verified or denied the tension. Then came the ultimate. Chrissy proposed to Jim on national TV, and Camron withdrew from the narrative totally. No congratulations, no post, no word for years. Passed. The quiet grew louder. Chrissy and Jim remained together through highs and lows and innumerable speculations. Cam focused on his solo projects, but fans never forgot the Chrissy, and Cam's unresolved energy was missing. So when she stepped into the studio last night wearing all black and a face that suggested, "I didn't come here to play," the internet held its breath. The show's host tried to keep it calm and cracked a joke. Camron laughed off the Dipset family tree, but Chrissy didn't smile. She leaned closer, locked eyes with Cam, and said, "You've got a Cam. Are you still hiding behind your mic?" The first shot was live and unscripted. Cam froze and shifted in his seat. "About what?" he said. Attempting to deflect, Chrissy went in closer. "About what you said Jim back in 2012. About me. About how you thought I'd ruin him. You remember?" Cameron's smile vanished as fans watching the stream felt the strain radiating through the screen. Chrissy was no longer the silent fiancé. She had come to collect Dot. Because what Camron supposedly said behind closed doors wasn't simply a casual phrase, it nearly wrecked her relationship with Jim Jones. Dot and Jim. He was watching the whole event. Word is that someone from the radio station shared a behind-the-scenes stream showing Jim Jones backstage viewing the interview live. His look screamed everything: shock, perplexity, and hurt, because Chrissy had never spoken it publicly before. And now it was out in the open, and the worst section, Camron, was still not revealing the entire truth. The crowd went dead silence. Chrissy's remarks landed like a brick live on TV with the cameras rolling. Producers frozen behind the glass and the chat on fire. She didn't just confront Camron, she exposed him. "You told Jim to leave me," she reiterated. Her voice was firm, but her eyes were blazing. "You told him I was using him, that I would never be loyal, and that I was going to be his ruin." Camron tried to shrug it off at first. Tried to play cool. "Chrissy, you know I was watching out for your brother." "What actual ones do, Kai?" But Chrissy wasn't buying it. She went closer to the podium and dropped the real bomb. "Nasi, it wasn't about saving Jim. Controlling him. You didn't want nobody coming in and changing the order. You loved him being your shadow. You don't want a lady beside him who had a voice. Cam's jaw clenched. The atmosphere felt claustrophobic. The co-host didn't even dare breathe. And at that same moment, the live stream conversation touched record numbers of fans. We're surprised this wasn't a contrived reunion. This was a reckoning. Chrissy didn't stop. You told him to pick between Dipset and Chrissy, and you knew what it would do to him. You figured he'd fold. But guess what, Cam? He chose me. Which is why you've been salty all along. These years, the sorrow in her voice wasn't only for the cameras. It was years of treachery, being presented as the villain while the real narrative remained in the shadows. And then came the twist nobody expected. Cam, single quotes. Ron didn't deny it, didn't fight back, didn't even glance at Chrissy. Instead, just groaned and said something that altered everything. I didn't believe he'd choose you. I assumed he'd choose family. That one line, calm, nearly shattered. Chrissy sat back, astonished. She whispered, "So you admit it?" Cam nodded. "I do, but you think it was just about you? Do you think it was that simple?" Cam dropped his side of the according to him. The rivalry was not simply about mistrust or ego. He claimed there was another layer. Jim told me something back then. Chrissy's expression changed when she heard you say something about money, business, and me. Cam halted and looked at the producers as if wondering whether to go all in. He told me you said Dipset was holding him back. You said we were stuck in the past and he needed to evolve without us. Chrissy's jaw dropped open. "That's not what I meant," she yelled. "I said you were stuck in drama. I said the business side was chaotic and Jim needed clarity. I never said leave you behind." Cam shook his head. He heard what he heard. Like suddenly, the underlying reason of the rift was revealed. It wasn't just gossip or stress. It was a single misunderstood exchange. Torn by allegiance, pride, and years of silence, the co-hosts finally jumped in to try to redirect the turmoil, but it was too late. The internet had already. "Chrissy, you instructed him to choose Cam." "I didn't think he'd choose you, Chrissy, which is why you despised me." Within minutes, during Chrissy V's Cam was trending on every medium, and backstage, Jim Jones was pacing. A video footage filmed privately by someone in the studio hallway showed him watching a monitor, jaw clenched, muttering to someone off camera. This wasn't supposed to happen like this, but the next words caught everyone off guard. Chrissy doesn't even know the whole truth. Cam wasn't the only one who kept secrets, and just as everyone was asking that question, Chrissy's phone flashed up. She looked down the dinner table and her expression turned pale. "You good?" one host questioned. She looked up, her voice quivering. "Jim just texted me. We need to talk now off camera." Cut to commercial. Live feed down. But the internet is still watching, recording and yelling that something larger is coming. Whatever. It's not just about old beef anymore. It's about what Jim Jones has been keeping from both of them when they live. When the stream unexpectedly cut to commercial, followers were left breathless by a quiet that shouted louder than anything Chrissy remembers. "We were trying to buy the masters to our old Dipset library, that transaction we were negotiating. Back in 2012, Chrissy nodded slowly. Jim looked down at the table. It didn't fall through. I pulled out because Cam approached me and said if I moved forward with you in the eye. I panicked as Jim continued. I told you the label backed out, but I folded because I didn't know how to choose. I believed retaining the piece meant keeping y'all apart." Chrissy looked heartbroken. "You lied to me," she whispered gently. "I lied to both of you," Jim responded. "I let a bargain that changed our lives crash because I couldn't be honest with any of you." Camron finally broke his quiet. "You told me she was attempting to cut me out." "Deal." Jim nodded slowly. "I said that because I needed you two to walk away, silently, and I didn't want you to beef worse than you already were, Chrissy." Standing up and walking to the edge of the room, she turned around and stated, "You've been the reason we hated each other." Jim didn't defend himself. "I felt I was preserving what we made. I didn't realize I was breaking it, but it at the time and handled internal emails. I still have the one that explains why the master's deal actually failed." She pulled out her phone and started reading per internal decision presented to Jones. Dipset withdrew. Owing to Chrissy's face turned pale. "They didn't drop us because of Cam or me. "They dropped us because we weren't united," she muttered. The studio was dead silent, and Jim said the one thing that no one. Chrissy sat back down, tears in her eyes, while Karen stared off into space. They all looked broken, not from hate but from the weight of what could have been. And just when fans thought it couldn't be any heavier, a producer stepped up with a note, handed it to the host. The host read it, blinked, and turned to the camera. "Raking update, presumably Mama Jones just gone live on. She's on Instagram and explaining her side of the tale, saying, 'You're missing the most important part.' She says, 'Ask Chrissy. What occurred in Miami?' Cut the feed as the internet explodes. What happened in Miami? Who is Mama Jones talking about? Why did she wait until now to speak? The answers are coming." Before the commercial break had ended, the internet was already on fire with clips from the live interview. Was all over TikTok, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, and even Facebook anti-groups. Fans couldn't believe they had just witnessed Chrissy confronting Cam Live Jim, disclosing long-buried falsehoods, and Mama Jones stepping in with her own bombshell that the floodgates had opened, with Urine's Chrissy vs. Cam, or Jim folded, and Mother Jones all trending within an hour. Is a whole hip-hop, Greek tragedy unfolding in real time. Another person said, "I need Netflix to pick this up right. We now have 10 episodes. Behind the scenes, unpublished voicemails and all celebrities starting piping in." Remy Ma tweeted, "Hugh, it is always the silence between the biggest voices that reveals the truth." Trina reposted a clip from Chrissy said, "You wanted control, not loyalty," with a caption reading, "That section." Even Safri added flames under a Camron reaction meme. But it wasn't all love. Some Nipset supporters came out swinging, blaming Chrissy for the group's collapse. She broke the rule. One viral post said, "You don't put private business on blast just to win an argument, especially on live television." But Chrissy's fans clapped back with receipts. She held Jim down when no one else would. She spoke her truth. Cam has been playing the puppet master for years. She just ripped the strings live. Meanwhile, blogs couldn't type fast enough. The Shade Room Hollywood Unlocks and Baller Alert posted clip after clip, each one driving millions of views, and the biggest twist, Mama Jones went full throttle on Instagram Live. Sunglasses and a wine glass in hand, she didn't hold back. "They want to speak about masters, loyalty, and who said what, but not about Miami," said with a sneer. "You don't even know what occurred in 2015 when we had that meal. The one when Chrissy stormed out, the one Jim never talks about." Fans lost. A TikTok creator instantly reenacted the entire incident with wild precision based on reports. They believe Chrissy learned Jim was in contact with Cam behind her back again. She left Jim at the table, flew home alone, and did not talk to him for 2 weeks. Others felt that the Miami trip was the Chrissy felt she was being locked out of decisions about money and legacy, especially now with Mama Jones. Adding strain, the timeline began to divide. Some believed Chrissy should have walked away years ago. Others argued she remained faithful even when Jim didn't. Then came the true firestorm. A leaked screenshot surfaced, apparently from Jim's close pal, showing a group conversation where Jim supposedly said, "Cam has been utilizing allegiance to dominate me. I should have picked Chrissy every time fans went berserk, so Jim always knew." This man let his entire empire break apart over pride. The saddest aspect was that they all loved each other. They just didn't know how to say it without breaking the news. Urban morning shows were filled. Panelists discussed whether Chrissy should have stayed silent or if Jim should have cleared the air years ago. But one voice pierced through the clamor. Angie Martinez, a radio legend, tweeted, "When communication breaks, ego writes the story, and everyone realizes what this is." This was not just beef. Mama Jones claims Chrissy knows what really happened. Chrissy says Jim is still not revealing the whole truth. Cam says he's out of it now, but fans aren't letting this go. They want the final jigsaw piece, and based on a cryptic message Chrissy posted only an hour ago, a dark screen. Chrissy finally broke her silence about Miami. Everything came to a stop. She posted a black and white video with no music or filters, just her sitting on a couch, eyes red but voice calm. "I wasn't going to speak about this," she began. "I assumed this was something we'd take to the grave, but if Mama Jones wants to bring up Miami, let's chat about what really transpired at that dinner." You could hear a pin drop across the internet. We weren't fighting over Cam. We weren't fighting about money. Jim told me that night that he was preparing to sign documents without my presence that would have sold a portion of the Masters to an outside investor who had never believed in Dipet, someone who offered more. If I was fully cut out, Vance gasped. He stated it was merely business since I wasn't part of the initial arrangement. With eyes filling with tears, I flew home alone that night because it wasn't only betrayal, but affirmation that no matter how hard I battled for him, for his name, for his brand, I'd always be considered as an outsider. It's like the girl who talks too much, is too passionate, and wrecks the agony in her voice. Hit fans hard. I didn't ruin Dipet, she murmured. Ego did silence. Lies did. And then she dropped the twist that no one was expecting. And the investor who offered the deal, she picked up a photo and brought it up to the camera. It was scary. Zeke and Cam knew. Boom. The internet exploded. Freaky Zeke, another core Dipset member, allegedly attempted to buy out Jim's catalog by cutting Chrissy. According to Chrissy, both Jim and Cam knew but said nothing. The treachery was more than just personal. Business. And that's when it struck fans. This quarrel is like a freight train. Chrissy versus Cam. Chrissy versus Mama Jones. Jim was stuck in the center. It was more than just allegiance or legacy. Ownership. And now that the truth was revealed, Casey concluded her video with a single line that sent goosebumps throughout all timelines. Want war? Cool, I have more receipts. They aren't only about Miami cut. Seconds thereafter, Jim Jones disappeared. I've no words, just looking at the camera. The expression behind him is unreadable. Thick envelope labeled confidential, minus 2015 recording fans screamed. What was in the envelope? Was there a tape? A contract? A confession? The live ended. In less than 30 seconds, no explanation, no responses, and just like that, the screen fell dark. But the conflict is only just began. And there it is, the truth nobody was meant to hear. Chrissy spoke, Cam cracked, and Jim confessed, and Mama Jones stoked the flames into full-blown explosion. But what's inside? Jim recorded in that envelope. 2015, he never shared Freaky Zeke. Are they actually conspiring behind the scenes? This is deeper than anyone expected. It is apparent that this is not over. Isn't just a chaotic love and hip-hop. At the present, the raw heritage is altering. The drama is unfolding in real time. The streets are talking. The fans are struggling. The truth is unraveling, quicker than anyone can contain it. Here is what we need from you right now. Leave a comment. Are you on the Chrissy team? Cam or team none of the above? Do you, I suppose Jim is now ready to come? Clean, or is he still protecting? Something even darker. And what do you believe Chrissy meant by, I have more receipts because if there will be more recordings to come, contract more names, this whole situation may flip the Dipet legacy upside down, so don't scroll and don't miss. Make sure you're subscribed with. Notifications are turned on because when the following drop will be the biggest twist yet, and trust us, the envelope is about to be opened to wreck everything.